Hey everybody, I'm back. Are you guys getting used to seeing me in the evenings? I know you are, and I know you're not here for me. This I know, you don't have to tell me. I know. But it is day 9 of the 12 Days of Page Turners, and like promised, I have so many more amazing authors with awesome holiday promotions that are here. And so without further ado, that's enough from me. Let's get them all talking about their promotions. So first up, I'm going to bring Miss Patty Lee up on stage. Patty, how are you? I got you.
I'm good. Oh, thank you. It's like I was
I got
muted.
you.
I
Hey,
am
James Hill.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm so excited.
Oh, you are so welcome. The pleasure is all mine. So, Patty, tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
I write contemporary women's fiction, and I've been writing since 2019, like officially. But I've journaled, which doesn't really count as writing, I guess. But
It counts, Patty.
officially started writing in February of 2019.
Nice. So how long were you journaling before then? Because I'm gonna count that as writing. It's writing. You practiced.
I was one of those kids, one of those teeny bopper girls who had like the diary with the the key and everything. I mean,
Nice.
it
Keep
was,
the
I mean,
siblings out. I like
yeah,
it.
from a young age. And then as I got older, it was really more kind of processing like the day. Like I do like a daily inventory, of things that I had done during the day that I, maybe could have done better or thought more about. It was just easier for me to write it and process it that way.
Oh, okay. So you would like recap your day. I I I maybe I should do that, Patty, because I'm one of those people that, like in the middle of the night I sit up and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't get this done on my list. Or I'm just like, oh man, I need to accomplish this. And I go through my checklist of the day that I didn't do. So maybe I should just start writing it and I might sleep a lot better, Patty. I like that. I might do that. That's a
Maybe
good idea.
maybe don't do it just before bed though.
No, I should do it like as I'm winding down after this because I get so excited talking with you guys and I get so amped up, right? That I have to like wind down after this. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, on Sunday on December 11th, I'm gonna post this, where I look fabulous. I'm gonna do an after shot with like my makeup all over my face and sweats with my hair on top and been like the aftermath, right? So it's definitely like I have to wind down, and I think journaling and stuff. I think that's perfect to do that. And so you are just genius. This is why you went first. You're genius. I need to do this. But tell us a little bit about why you picked women's contemporary fiction to write in. Do you just love that genre? You love reading it? Why did you pick that one?
I do. I feel like if it can happen to me or anybody, like that's kind of my shtick. I write about things that can happen to anyone, and for me, it's kind of like a kind of a growing thing. So if something happened to somebody and they can figure out a way to get past it or get by it, or depending on the circumstance, get through it. uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, growing up, I read all kinds of stuff. I read Stephen King. I read, I mean, it's all kind of genres too. So I read Jenna Ivanovich. I read Diana Gabaldon. I mean, so Anne Rice. I read so many different here and there's, but so far I just want to write contemporary women's fiction. I, I
Yeah.
I have a suspense kind of thriller one brewing in my brain, um,
Ooh.
which there's I got a little bit of bones on it, but that'll be farther down the pike.
Yeah. So what's your favorite genre to read? I mean, you went from like Stephen King, like you bounced around. So which one is just the one that if you went into a bookstore and all they had was this genre, what would be the one that you would just be like, oh, I'm in heaven?
I honestly, it really depends on the day. Because even when growing up, I would not read nonfiction. Like I'd be like, I don't want to read nonfiction. But now I'm like, yes, give me nonfiction. I love to read it. It's just so interesting. But it really depends on the day. Because some days I don't want to read nonfiction. I want to read I want to get out of my world and get into a different world, you know?
Right. See, I resonate so much with that because I feel like, and I've said this before, but I feel like the world would be so boring without you authors, right? because people like Patty, who's like, oh yeah, I'm totally down for nonfiction today. And then tomorrow it's like, I want to read a psychological thriller where I just, I'm good. Like, yes, just that's going to happen for me, And then that's why if we didn't have that, it would be just such a boring, uncreative place. So that's why I love you guys. I live vicariously through you guys. You guys are just beautiful with words that I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
I am so jealous of the science fiction writers and people who like build their worlds. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I would love to be able to do that. I'm sure I can't, but I would love to be able to do that. That would be awesome.
Yes. No, I was talking, but Brad Anderson yesterday, he was talking about it takes him like 2 years. I'm like, oh, yes, it's so difficult. It is the most difficult thing. But I want to talk about, Patty, your first book, because it did just come out in November.
Yes.
And it's so exciting. And the cover is a black and white cover, which you don't see very much anymore. Yes. And so I love that. You went like retro with it. And
Yeah.
I think it's so fitting for your women's contemporary. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the story behind your cover because I haven't seen a black and white cover, Patty, in so long, at least in my line of work, at least 5 years. I haven't seen a black and white cover. And so it's just gorgeous. So I want to know what made you decide to go in that direction for your book?
Well, I saw the picture quite some time ago and I saved it to a file and because it just caught my attention right away. And then when I was looking at different covers for the book, I had, like you said, I had some colorful ones. I had some, like snowfall, and I had some couples holding hands, and but none of them. I mean, I could have used them, but none of them spoke to me the way that this one did. And this, it's just kind of like the mood of the book, really. I mean, it really it really represents the mood. If you read the book, once you read the book, I think it'll make sense.
It does. It's very fitting for your book. I've read your book, but even before when we were talking about your book, I was like, oh, this is just perfect for like the summary of your book. It's so perfect. That's why I was like, this is going to be a good story. Like, yes, I love it. And the story behind the cover. So I know it's your debut novel is this one. And so what was that pivotal moment in your life where you're like, you know what? I'm going to write this book and I'm going to try to get it published. I'm going to pitch it around or I'm going to publish it myself, but I'm going to do it. Is it just a bucket list thing or what was that moment like?
Never thought I would be a writer though. I was always a reader. Like I would devour books. I mean, it was a way to escape again, life in general. And I never really thought I would be a writer, an official writer. I would always make up stories in my head about people if I see them in a park bench or in a mall or in my phone. I'm like, they're married to so-and-so and, they have this job and, they're going to go buy XYZ for their mistress or whatever, it's just little things you make up and you just tell yourself stories. And then I literally just woke up that February morning in 2019 and I was just like, I am just going to write down some of the stuff that's happening in my brain. Like these characters came to me. And so this book between February and November started off as kind of a lighthearted look at a long-term marriage. And once I started the book, it turned into more of a dramatic turn. Like it's not lighthearted like at all. So the book I'm working on now is lighthearted. Like I forced the characters back, but this one they took this book over. And any writer will tell you when you have characters and they're very strong characters, they tell you what you're doing, and you really have no control over it. They steer the ship. Oh, I think you're muted, Amy.
Yes, I am. I was saying that is a common theme. I forgot I muted myself so my LinkedIn video wouldn't start playing. It seems to be a common theme with all authors that have been on is, it's something that is inside of them and they're like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to go this direction. I'm going to outline or I'm a pantser in terms of writing. And then the next thing you know, your characters are like, haha, you thought, and then they do their own thing. And you're just like, well, we're going to roll with that, and you're just like, well, it's not the direction I was going to go, but we're going there, So that's my favorite thing about authors is because you guys like roll with it. Where I am like, that's why I tell this story. I failed outlines. I don't know if any of you guys did in high school. They stressed me out. Like I failed them. I truly did. That's why I'm not a writer. Okay, that's why you guys are. But I feel like I couldn't do that. I'd be like, yeah, no, you're gonna listen to me. We're gonna go this direction, and you're gonna hush. Like, it wouldn't work, you know. So that's why I'm like, oh man, to have like that creative freedom to just be like, well, let's just see where it goes. I think is such a powerful thing to do. So I love that, and I love that you're just like, well, no, it was gonna be lighthearted, and it's not. It's not.
It's not. It is not. And you just made a point. It is a powerful freedom. Like it does feel, I don't want to say invincible, but you can create whatever you want to create, and you can make the story happen however you want to make it happen. But that was good that this happened the way that it did this way, because then I have kind of like nuggets for later. That's actually how the second book came up, is because I was like, well, this is the story I wanted to write, so now I'm going to write it. And so far, it's been okay. I haven't had any character issues yet. So
Yeah. Well, so what's next for you? I know that you said that you had like a suspense, one that you're just slowly chucking away at. It's just kind of on the back burner, and you mentioned, like a book two kind of thing. So is this book gonna become a series, or are you just gonna do standalones, or what's your next direction?
I don't see it as a series. I had a book. Not the book launch, and somebody at the book launch had said, oh, but you can, because I was like, these characters are one and done, and they said, no, they're not. Actually, you can start writing it from like a family point of view, like a child's point of view. And I was like, oh, maybe, so that's kind of sitting there to see how that goes. But I think it's going to be a one and done. And then I don't see myself as a series writer.
Okay.
I don't know that I could write, three books about the same thing. I think my brain isn't wired that way. I'm done with this and I need to move on to something different.
I'm the same way. See, this is why I live through your guys, because I am the exact same way. I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to complete this, and this is it, and then it's done. Like, I have got to do something else. So I totally understand. I can relate 100% to that. Just 100%. But we do have more books that are going to come from you.
I do. I'm hoping in 2023 I'm hoping to finish before 2022. I thought I was done. Because I am a new writer, and so when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. It was like 30,000 words or something, and then I realized pretty quickly, after I got some feedback from agents and publishers, that's not done at all. But my next book, I thought I was done, and then I went to a writers conference and I read some more books on the craft, and I just decided I know that it's not my best work, so I don't want to start putting it out there until I know it is my best work. So I've been pulling things apart and sprinkling some additional information in, and hopefully before the end of the year, I'll actually have. I am so stuck on one of these chapters; it's driving me crazy. I had an info dump chapter, which is basically the whole chapter was just backstory that I was trying to tell without telling it, but that's exactly what I did. So I'm gonna have to break that apart and send it around the whole entire book and not just in one chapter. But I hope to be finished before the end of this year. And then, we'll see what happens. Maybe I can get it picked up in 2023 and go from there.
Nice. I love that you're going to continue writing, and that you have different ideas and things that are percolating that you're kind of playing around with. I think it's important because it keeps your skills sharp, because every book you write is going to be better than your previous book. I'm a firm believer in that. And so I'm excited to see what is next for you and what you put out, because I know it's just going to be amazing. This book was amazing. The words were just so elegant and they flowed so beautifully. I mean, I was sobbing. Okay. And I'm not a crier. So it's a fantastic book. But I know, Patty, you and your publisher are offering a holiday promotion this holiday season. So can you tell us what your promotion is?
We are, and I can. So Rock Hill Publishing is my publisher, and they are offering 25% off all ebooks. And you'll put the link in the chat there. And also ebook bundles of 2 or more books, either by the same author or in the same genre, are discounted at 33%. Also, paperback versions of the bundles are available at discount prices, and there is free shipping in the US with using a code NOPOST for printed books.
Ooh.
So many things.
So awesome. It's the holidays. I love it. I love it. Well, Patty, thank you so much for joining me on the 12 Days of Page Turners and for hanging out and putting up with my crazy self. I love the holidays. This is the happiest time of the year for me, is to do the 12 days. So I'm so excited that you decided to join us this year.
Thanks for having me. And I want to say, Amy, so I've been watching the 12 days and you have sweaters on every day and you keep calling them ugly sweaters, but I am one of those people. I'm one of those people who think there is no such thing as an ugly Christmas sweater. Christmas sweaters, by definition, are beautiful and joyful. So.
They are. No, these are super cute. And then I have my little bell. So, like, just going to, when you hear me walk down the hallway, it's the cutest thing. But I have like these sequins, like house slippers on. That's like Santa. And then I have reindeer, but there's sequins on the side. Y'all can't see those. I'm not going to show you my feet, but it's the greatest thing. I'm telling you, I'm decked out. Y'all just can't see it, but I am decked out for sure.
I love seeing them.
I love it, Patty. Thank you so much. So you guys, coming up next is Mac Little. Mac, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing good. So tell us what genres you write in and how long you've been a writer.
I write historical fiction and urban fantasy / horror. And I like to say I've been writing since I was 12 years old. I've always been a writer. I wanted to be a writer since then, but I didn't really finish my first story until I was in my late 40s. So it took me a little while to gather my stories, I suppose.
Yeah. I know. So I've read your latest one, your historical fiction, the one that's in the background, Daughter of Hades. I have read that one. I own that one. It's on my bookshelf that y'all can't see, but it's on my bookshelf. Okay. You made my bookshelf. And so it's an amazing story. But what made you want to pursue writing and, put these stories together and, try to get them published and kind of shop them around? What was that for you?
Well, I've always had a wild imagination, so that's part of it. And I'm an avid reader, and I enjoy reading like the previous author. I love reading all genres, and a lot of the genres that I enjoyed, like horror and fantasy and romance, and even the history books that I read, that there was just a lack of diversity in the books, and I wanted to see myself reflected in some of the books and see more diversity, not just myself, but just, more diversity in the books. And I just wasn't seeing it. So I'm writing the books that I want to read, basically.
I love it. You are like the second or the third person to say that. Like you write for what you want to read, what you would enjoy reading. And I think that is the coolest thing. Like, just to be that creative and be like, well, because when you're on Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and you're just going down the channels and you're like, there is absolutely nothing on. And there's obviously so much on. I mean, it's like unlimited, right? But there's nothing on that you want to watch. And I love that you're just like, well, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write what I want to read and what I would enjoy. And I'm going to put it out, for others if they also want to read it. But I'm going to do this for myself. I think that is the most creative and empowering thing to do. I've never thought to do that. I just kind of am like, well, okay, I'm going to watch Big Bang Theory, which was mentioned the other night, or I'm going to put on, like The Walking Dead or something, right? I mean, depending on my mood, right? So I just think that is the coolest thing. And it's like, it was you and like one or two other authors that had mentioned that. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm watching a television show or reading a book and I'm like, oh, that's not the choice I would have made. I made different choices. And I think the story would be so much better if they'd done it this way. So now I'm doing it my own way. I have my own story and I'm doing it my way. And it's working out so far. And I really enjoy it. Writing is my life now, even though I have a day job. I'm constantly writing. Even when I lay my head on my pillow, I'm writing a story.
Yeah, your day job gets in the way of you writing. That's how I like to say it. That, job gets in the way, like, oh man, I just want to be writing. So I I love that. And I know you have a gorgeous cover. I mean, it's amazing. Even on my I know, even on my bookshelf, it's amazing.
I don't want to sound conceited, but it is gorgeous. But I have to give all thanks to Versant Sheldon, who designed the cover. I I gave him an idea of what I wanted, and even though my book is a historical novel, I felt like the Afrofuturism style of art would work really well with my historical novel. You usually see Afrofuturistic type covers on sci-fi books and and fantasy books,
Mhm.
but what Afrofuturism does is it recognizes the African diaspora, and it reflects where we were and where we're going. And I think this cover reflects that. It reflects the history. If you look at the top center of the image, there's like a little symbol, and uh, it's a Igbo hieroglyphic, and it harkens back to when Igbo was its own nation in a part before it became Nigeria, and then you see the ship is where they ended up in the Caribbean. So I think the cover ties the history and the future up to that point really well.
It does. I mean, it truly is. Like whenever I look at it, I'm just like, oh, just want to stare at it. So I I love it, and I don't think that you're being conceited by any means because it is just gorgeous. It's eye appealing for sure. But what kind of research did you have to do, to put this book together, and how did the idea kind of come about that this was the story you wanted to tell?
I did a lot of extensive research, and I tried to take all of my research from um, historical journals and books, and to give you a sense of authenticity when you're reading the story. And I wanted to reflect the diversity in the Caribbean and in piracy that we don't usually see when we watch the movies. And so there's a lot of diversity that's left out, and I'm trying to get uh, Africans back into the history. And as you can see on the cover, the main character in Daughter of Hades is an Asian, and a lot of people don't know that there was a strong Asian population in the Caribbean that just got written out of history. And so I want to put the diversity back into history the way it actually was.
I think that's cool, and that just seems like hours of like in-depth research to do that and to do
It,
it in like I'm just to like do it in like the proper way, so it's represented in the way that you want it to be. Just seems to
well,
be so extensive.
Basically, I do seat of my pants research. So I have extensive character sheets, and I have a overview of where the character came from, and how they got to this point in the story. And when I get into writing the actual details of the story, I go back and I do my research, and I make sure that all the facts are right, or as close as possible. And yeah, I kind of research as I go along. I write longhand. I write the story out, and then I go back and I do the research and fill in the blanks and add the details that make it authentic.
See, I would totally do that. So what kind of writer are you? Are you like a pantser? Or are you like the outline that I wish I could be successful at?
I am a total pantser. Uh, as you say, the characters take. I let my characters have full reign. They tell me where they want to go. They tell me who they are and what they're going to do next. And so I don't try to control that at all. one thing that so the only things I do actually plan out, like I said, are the character sheets. And when I'm writing a scene, I have a scene template and I have an idea of what needs to happen in the scene. And a lot of times my characters even take off and the scene sheet is like irrelevant because of what they've done. So I follow my characters. I let them speak to me and let them take the lead.
I mean, that has to be the hardest thing because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, damn, those characters, like, why can't they cooperate? They know we have a plan. Why aren't we going with the plan? What's the deal? Like it's just this is why I live through you guys because I'd be mad. I'd be like, nope, I'm gonna win this battle, and that means I'm not gonna write till you cooperate. It would just be a battle.
Right. I had one book, the last book I was writing, one of my characters was an antagonist and he was very helpful, but I kept thinking he kept telling me no, I have I have ulterior motives. I'm not really as helpful as you think I am. And I didn't know what his ulterior motives was until I got to the end of the book. And then I had to go back and and shape the story to fit what the character finally revealed to me at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, I would love to be in the mind of a writer when the character is talking to them. It to me would be the coolest or scariest, but I'm going to say the coolest thing as long as it's not a psychological thriller because I don't want to die. So let's not do that. But I think it'd be the coolest thing to like hear the internal conflict with your character and then you're like writing, you're like, but my outline is this and this is what I said and this is what I want it to be. Why are you being difficult? Like I feel like I would have that conversation out loud, and I'm sure it would be in public, and people would think I was crazy. But just to be in y'all's mind, I think would be the coolest thing and so fascinating.
Yeah, you would be terrified in my mind.
I tell people that too. I'm like, I'm a nice person outside, but in my mind, you don't want to meet me in my mind. Just no, it's not needed at all. So what's next for you? I know writing is just like a part of your life and that day job gets in the way. So what else are you working on? What else can we kind of expect to see from Mac Little in the future?
Okay, so Daughter of Hades, I had a character in there that just kept speaking to me. So I ended up writing a novella to tell his story. And that story, Shelter in a Hostile World, is coming out in July 22nd. And it follows the life of an African slave. Before he's enslaved, it shows his life before he's enslaved and what led up to it, and his escape from slavery. And it's a really interesting story. The character's name is Badu, and he's an enslaved black man, and he's married to an Irish woman. And that's one of the little tidbits that I find out when I'm doing my research is that you had Irish indentured servants in Barbados at at the same time you had slaves, and a lot of times they intermarried. A lot of times they came together and revolted. And I wanted to explore that aspect of the Caribbean history. So that's going to be coming out in July. And
That's exciting.
And I have a follow-up novel to Daughter of Hades called Fortune's Revenge. And I'm really excited about that coming out. That's probably going to be a couple of years, but maybe
it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
No, it's done. But I have to wait my line. I have to wait my turn with the publisher.
Right? No, I get it. And I think I love that you eat, breathe, and sleep writing because in your book, especially in Daughter of Hades, it really comes across like your passion for writing, and you write with such like love and just power in it that it's the beautiful thing. Like I am not as creative with words as any of you guys, and so it's amazing the way that all that passion just comes into your writing and the flow of it, and it's just I'm in awe of it, Mac. I love it. I recommend that book to everybody that I see because I'm like, hey, have you seen this book on my bookshelf? When they come to my house, I'm like, this is like, check this out.
Yeah, and just to let you know that I like writing horror as well. I have a Dampier series that I'm still working on right now, but you can see I'm afraid, I'm almost afraid to tell you, but you can see the horror in my historical novel books. I like to get gritty and I like to get dark. So
Yeah.
when you read my historical novels, you get a little bit of everything. You get the romance, the history, and the gritty, dark details.
Yeah, that's why I love it so much because I love horror books. Like horror, everybody knows this. You guys have listened every night. You guys know I love horror, thrillers. The more jacked up somebody is or trying to do to somebody else, the happier Amy is. Like it's the weirdest thing. I promise I'm not going to hurt anybody. I promise. But it's the weirdest thing, but it's like the happier Amy is, right? It's just, I don't know. I can't do like Hallmark things. I'm like, oh, this is just not real. I don't know. It's just weird. But that's what I think that because I realized that in it. I mean, I know that you have, like that horror background and stuff, but it just was like of that time period and stuff and just the horror that was in it and everything and the darkness of it. It just, the darkness sucks you in. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm here. We're just going to do it. So at one of the things I found the most fascinating about your writing is you really do. It's like no joke. You're like the Blob, but and it just sucks you in. You're just like, oh, well, okay. Like I didn't realize that. Oh, all right. We're committed. We're doing it. So I think that's why it's had it just the passion that you have for writing just comes across in it. And it's the most beautiful thing. And you guys can convey that. So it's just wonderful. But I know you are offering a holiday promotion this holiday season. So tell us what your promotion is.
Well, Daughter of Hades is available on Amazon. You can get the Kindle for 99 cents. And the book is discounted to $10. And also, I'm looking for new subscribers to my newsletter. So anybody who subscribes to my newsletter between now and January 9th, I will pick one person and send them an autographed copy of Daughter of Hades.
Wonderful. I'm already on your newsletter list. Darn it. And I already have it, but darn it, it's okay. I'm gonna see you in person, Mac. I'm not gonna hunt you down, but I am gonna find you in person the next time I see you.
As a subscriber to my newsletter, you will have the opportunity to read the arc for my upcoming novel. So
yes. I'm here for it. I am here for it, Mac. But thank you so much for joining us on the 12 days. It is always such a delight to talk to you and just dive in. Your mind is so fascinating. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. So coming up next, everybody, is Steve. Steve, how are you?
Fantastic, Amy. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. It's been a long time since I talked to you, Steve.
It has been a little bit over a year. Yeah.
Wow, it has. So tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
Okay, sure. Well, I used to write when I was a kid, and then I went off and got a day job that was pretty all consuming. And when that started to come to a close, I thought I'd rekindle that passion and see if I was still interested in it. And so it's really been about 5 years since I started writing again. And I write nonfiction, and I would probably say it's, I think these days the phrase servant writer is out there. And I don't know that this was my intention when I started, but I just found that there were nonfiction topics that I just had a passion for, that I really felt they were near and dear to my heart or my family's heart. And I also felt like there was an opportunity to help others with the topics. And so that's what really started my writing. And the book that came out when we last talked is The Corporate Introvert. And so what I realized as my really the second half of my work career was I had this thread of introversion, and I knew I was an introvert all my life, but I had this thread of introversion, which really, when I looked back on it, I realized it impacted my entire life. As a kid, I felt different. As a young adult, I felt like I didn't fit in. And I looked at other people that seemed to be more confident and more popular and more successful. And especially in a corporate workplace, I think a lot of people experience that there's generally an extroverted culture in most companies. And even though half of the people roughly are introverts, but in order to fit in, I felt like I needed to kind of replicate what other people were doing. And, if acting may be one thing, but to pretend that you're somebody else for years and years and decades is exhausting. And honestly, it's kind of demeaning because it really made me feel like I wasn't good enough as the person who I am, and that I had to pretend to be somebody else. And so about 10 years left in my career, I realized this was not healthy. It was not, I couldn't cope with that anymore. And I had to really make some changes. And the change I made was really to find authenticity, learn more about introversion, and learn more about myself. And that's where this book came from, was an opportunity to give back to other introverts around the world, whether they're students in college that are getting ready to go into the corporate world and not sure how they'll fit in, or people that work and are aspiring to be leaders but don't really think they can pull it off, or leaders that are struggling to be happy because they're trying to pretend to do it somebody else's way, or even extroverts that want to have a more diverse and fulfilled work team. And so I find that all those kind of people are coming to the book and finding tips and strategies to help them to tackle those. So it's really a meaningful project for me personally, and I love to engage with other people in the community and hear their stories and try and help out along the way.
See, I think your book is one that is really needed because, I mean, especially for college kids, when they graduate and they're entering into the workforce, whether they go corporate or whatever, right? And I think it's one of that has to be the scariest thing. I never did that, so I can't relate to that, but I can relate to that scary feeling, when you like start your first job, right? And it's things like that, and you're like, oh well, what if I don't fit in, or what if I don't catch on fast enough, or
Right.
or if you get the leadership position, like on here, right? You guys think I'm this huge extrovert, right? And you're just like, oh, you must totally be like this all the time. No, this is my comfort zone. Okay, out in public, I am awkward. Not even gonna. I'm awkward. So
You're
I
right.
think it's something that everybody really needs, because I think at some point we all go through that, seclude ourselves, or we're always just worried about other people's opinions, or blending in and fitting in, and not
Right.
wanting to stand out, and so I just, oh, kudos to you, because that had to be hard to write, to do, and like listen to other people's stories and write it. So what was your process like?
So you've talked a lot with the previous people with Mac and Patty about being pantsers, and maybe that's more common in fiction. I don't know, because that hasn't been my genre at this point. But I'm definitely a planner.
Yeah.
I sit down and I think about, okay, what are the big topics? What are the chapters going to look like? What things do I want to cover? What stories do I want to tell? What strategies do I want to put out there? And so it's just my comfort zone. And so I feel the need to do that. But what I have realized over this is actually my second book. And what I've realized is I have to also be flexible, right? Because things do develop as you write, as you research, that I just find that it takes me in different directions. I want more for this chapter, or this doesn't move here, it doesn't belong here, it needs to move around. And so I've become more flexible in my writing, but I definitely start with an outline.
So you passed outlines is what I'm getting. I failed those. So you must have passed those, because I failed. I failed outlines miserably. But I can see the importance of them for nonfiction, because especially if you're doing like a self-help book, or a motivation book, or like an empowerment and giving tips and things like that, you really need to be outlined in how that's going to flow, and what you want each chapter to really get across and convey. So I think outlines, even though I failed them, I think they're just essential for nonfiction, because that flow is so important for your reader, right? So I could see.
Yeah. I think it helps, again, especially for nonfiction, but just to have that outline to start. So for one, so we can kind of look at it and say, yeah, I do have material here. I have a lot of ideas and information that I want to convey. So I have enough here. And I found that my first book prior to this one, I planned it, but I didn't really think as much about it. It was all new to me. And I found the editing process to be a lot more tedious and laborious on the first book because I was kind of fixing it as I went. And it took a lot of time to kind of step back and have other people, editors and the like, really look at it and guide me through a process that I hadn't really thought about in advance. For this book and for my next book, I'm spending a lot more time before I actually ever put a pen to paper, thinking about what do I want to convey. And one of the practices that I've done for the last couple of books is really kind of a letter to the reader. The just thinking about what do I want to convey? What do I want the reader to expect out of that? Who is the reader? Who's my target audience? And how can I satisfy them? They bought the book or they're going to buy the book for a reason. So what information do I think they want to hear and read? And how am I going to satisfy that? And it gives me some direction. And I oftentimes go back to that letter when I feel like I'm getting a little stuck to right the ship a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where it would definitely benefit in that sense, and like giving you structure and like really planning it out, because I feel like with a non-fiction, right? And I think especially with like a topic like yours, it really needs to have like its structure. It's not one that you can just kind of mesh and mold together. Like it needs to have its structure and its bones, and then you fill it in, because
Right.
then you'll have gaps and missing, and then it'll be like, oh well, what if this scenario happens, kind of thing. That's why I think it's important to do that. I strive to be better at outlines, Steve. I really do. I try. I try very,
But
very.
if that's not your approach, then maybe you just don't need to try any harder, right?
I'm just not
I
a
mean,
writer, and it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
go with the creativity and wherever it takes you, and that's a beautiful thing as well. I sometimes wish I could do that, but I know that's just not really my forte. So I don't waste too much time trying to go down that route. As long as I have some level of flexibility in my writing, I feel pretty good.
Oh yeah, but you enjoy writing on, the topics that you write on and stuff. And I think
Yeah.
that's the most important. And honestly, I think that's what makes every writer successful, is that you enjoy writing. I think,
Yeah.
when you wake up one day and you're just like, God, man, I gotta go write, then you're no longer successful. You need to switch gears, right? But you love writing and you love the topic that you write about, and you're so passionate about it. And that makes it amazing to me.
Well, thank you. And I think that is really important. I mean, I hope everybody has the passion to do the writing. I mean, a lot of people are doing them after their day job, right? So, that's a pretty tough thing to allocate some time. So hopefully we're all enjoying it and have a passion for it. And if it starts to feel like a grind, then I think it's time to maybe put things down for a little bit and take a walk and kind of rekindle that fire to keep going.
Yeah, revisit it for sure. So you mentioned that you have another book coming out, or you're working on another book. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So when I first started writing, one of the pieces of advice I got was pick a lane, kind of stay in the lane. You can cultivate your community that way. You can really develop those relationships. And I've done that for the first couple of books, but the third book, I'm completely violating that rule. But it really is, again, something that I have a passion for, that I feel like I have an opportunity to help other people. So our oldest daughter, who's now 28, her name is Gwendolyn. She has Down syndrome. And over the last probably 10 years, we've gone through this journey of independence. So she wants her independence, and she wants, like her younger brother and sister, she wants to move out of the house. She wants to be able to make choices by herself. She wants to thrive. And, as a parent, it took me a while to realize that, but, I want the same thing for her. And so we've gone through this journey over the last several years of what does that mean? What do you really want? What does that look like? How do you get there? What do you need to learn to get there? What resources are there out there, whether they're medical or financial? And, so she's gone down this path, and along that journey, we realized in talking with a lot of other families that it's a path that is not well documented. and
Mhm.
most parents have no idea what to do. And many times the parents will say, when they are 18 to 22, when they finish public high school, they feel like they're falling off a cliff because high school may not always be perfect, but it really keeps them occupied and helps them to continue to learn for 7 or 8 hours a day or whatever. And suddenly they're done with that, and they come home, and a lot of people with disabilities end up staying home, and they lose a lot of the skills that they got, and they don't get to attain that level of independence that they really dream for. And so this book, which is called The Essential Guide for Families with Down Syndrome, and it comes out in March, is to help all those families along to understand what the opportunities are. There are so many opportunities and possibilities out there for families and loved ones with special needs. And how do you go about achieving that? How do you attain resources? Because nobody gives you a piece of paper that says, here are the benefits that that you can be qualified for. And so that's the next book coming out in a few months.
Steve, I'm so happy that you went out of your lane, because I think that is an amazing book, because there is not enough information or resources to help, parents with
Right.
children that have special needs, because you, as a parent, you want your kids to thrive no matter what. You want them to thrive and be independent and do all these things. And when, you have a child that is special needs, you have to figure out how to make that work and what that looks like for them. And there's no, there's no parenting handbook. Oh, I wish there was for my 3 and 2-year-old.
Yeah,
I'm telling
right.
you, I would have given them away earlier at the Dollar Tree. But you want those things for your kids, right?
Sure.
And there's
Yeah.
not enough information out there on different ways to handle that with different needs that they have. And so I think that is a beautiful thing and a beautiful book. And so I know you said, you stay in your lane, but I am so happy, Steve, that you went out of your lane, because that book is going to help so many parents. And it's incredible. I'm excited about your book in March. That's going to be amazing.
Thank you. I think that, we've talked a little bit about passion, and other people tonight have talked about, you write what you read or what you know. And that's kind of what led me to this next book. And I don't know what's next, but it'll probably be driven by the same sort of energy. So I'm very excited about 2023.
Oh, as you should be. I'm excited for you, but I'm also excited to hear about what holiday promotion you have this holiday season.
So lots of promotions for the Corporate Introvert. So the Corporate Introvert is out on ebook. That's on sale. I just came out with an audiobook a few weeks ago. And so I'm very excited about the audiobook, because a lot of people are commuting, or they're spending time in the gym or walking around. And so I think the audiobook is available. So if you're a late shopper like I am, you can pick up those two, and they're immediately available. The paperback is 25% off at $12.75. The hardback is 30% off at $16.99. And also you can come to my website, which is beyondintroversion.com. And all my new subscribers, in addition to getting all the free blogs and quizzes and things like that, also get a free book that's called The Questions That Introverts Ponder and the Answers That Extroverts Need to Hear. And so a lot of people are checking that out to give them some ideas of how they can manage their relationship as an introvert with the extroverts in their lives. And so all those are available for the holiday season.
I love it. Steve, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I always feel so motivated and empowered after speaking with you. I'm like, yes, Steve is on. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much for joining the 12 Days of Page Turners this year, and for hanging out with me. It's always such a delight to speak with you.
My pleasure, Amy. Thank you.
Of course. Coming up next is Kim. Hey, Kim. How are you?
Hello. You have your sweaters. I have a whole bunch of these little headbands.
Oh my gosh, I should do those next year. I love that. With my sweater, we're just going to deck this whole thing out next year. I'm telling you.
There you go. Yeah, I did a big purge, and I got rid of all of my Christmas sweaters, And then I just went crazy with these. So I have all kinds of headbands. So I thought this was the most festive for this evening.
I love it. I love it. Well, Kim, tell us what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
I have been writing, I call myself an accidental writer. So since about 2004. And accidental is because I had not ever written, hadn't thought of writing, and, wasn't anything I saw doing for myself. But I was asked to give a speech at a very large veteran event. And I'm a veteran myself. And this veteran event was a big event. And there was over 800 people there. And all of them were veterans and their significant others and all kinds of other, political people, the whole thing when you have something like that. And it was televised and all kinds of stuff, which I wasn't aware of until I got up to the podium to start giving my speech. But it took me a long time to write this speech out, and I had to speak for 20 minutes. And that was the first time I ever spoke in public. 20 minutes writing your own speech is a lot for the first time. And so it was a personal story about my step grandfather, who was the last surviving World War I veteran in the area that I live in. And he was the last man of the Last Man's Club. And so I wrote that story about him. So it was personal. It was very emotional. And I shared that and read it. I didn't read it, but I gave that speech to this large group of people. And when I was finished speaking, it was total silence. And I thought in my head, I must have really sucked. And, my heart just stopped. Yeah. And then there was one clap, and then the whole crowd just kind of like exploded. And then I just started crying. So that's how my first speech went. But afterwards, the editor of the local newspaper approached me and said, I'd like you to consider writing a monthly article for the newspaper. And I said, I'm not a writer. And he's like, well, who wrote your speech? And I said, well, I did. And he said, you are a writer. And that's how that spark happened. Somebody that I didn't know saw something in me that I didn't realize I had. And so that's how I started writing. And it's nonfiction. Typically is what I'm writing and have been writing. I love sharing other people's stories, helping them get their stories out into the world. So I coordinate anthologies right now. I've been doing that the last few years. Absolutely love doing that. Bringing all kinds of people from all over the world, different cultures, different ethnicities, so many amazing stories. And what I want to do is give them a platform in a way that I call it tossing out nuggets of hope. And that is my mission for coordinating the anthologies and some other things that I'm writing on the background that are all mine. So they will just be my books, not anthologies, but nuggets of hope. That's been my thing for the past year. And that's the stories. Everybody needs hope. Everybody needs hope at one point in their life. And sometimes they pray for it. They wish for it. They hope for hope. They hope that their life will get better. They hope that their children will not be ill or their children will get over this illness, and hope is God listening to me as I pray over my sick child with a terminal illness. Hope for, can I get over this addiction? Hope for, can I get over this weight that I carry from being sexually abused? Everybody needs hope. And I want to be that person that takes those nuggets and just chucks them out there like little points of light, because it's too dark. It's very, very dark for a lot of people. And if we can toss out those little pinpricks of light, even though it's just a little pinprick, and someone can look up and say, oh, there is light. Oh, that person went through that too. Okay, maybe I can get through this. Maybe I can. Or, wow, yes, I can get through this. I'm going to get through it. And so that's kind of my hope mission this year. My newest book that just came out on Thanksgiving Day is actually called When Hope Found Me. And this stone here, whoops, can't do it on. It's hard to do when you're looking at it on the.
Wait, I get it. I knew what you were talking about. I got you. I was there. Yeah.
And that stone, I actually have those stones, and I have a whole bunch of them. And I carry them with me. And they're always in my pocket, my purse, my coat pocket. I keep them in the console of my car. And when I'm out and about running errands or whatever it is that I'm doing, I will without fail get a nudge. And I call those nudges from God. I'll get this little nudge and I'll notice a person. And then I'll just get this incredibly strong feeling in my heart. That person needs a nugget of hope.
Mm.
And for the past year, I've been doing this, approaching complete strangers with my little nugget of hope in my hand. And I just walk up and say, pardon me, I would love to give you a nugget of hope today. And without fail, they've held their hand out. And I just gently put it in their hand. And they'll look down, and I've gotten surprise, I've gotten tears, I've gotten laughter, big smiles, I've gotten hugs, and I've gotten pretty good anger. And every single one of the people, I know in my heart, they needed that day. They might not appreciate it. They might shove it in their pocket and forget about it. And then they go home, pull out their pocket, throw all their stuff on their nightstand or the hallway table, wherever it is that you throw your change and your keys and all of that stuff, and might forget about it. But that next day, they might be going to grab their stuff, and they look down and they pick up that little nugget of hope, and then that's when it hits them. So that's my mission. That's a main reason why I got this anthology going. There's some amazing co-authors in it from all over the world sharing amazing stories. And they hit on some pretty tough topics: addiction, incarceration, sexual abuse, domestic violence, living with PTSD, all kinds of stuff. But the endings of the stories, and terminal illnesses and acute illnesses, the endings of the stories always end with they have found hope or hope found them. And they always end with that light shine. And that's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing with these books. And the cool thing about this book, though, is it's interesting because I haven't heard any of the other authors mention it. And I've been watching and listening for it. I had people asking and if I was going to do a large print edition. So I actually had oh gosh, here we go again. Wow. Large print edition made because I hadn't thought of it. And I feel awful now that I hadn't, but I have a lot of older people that buy these books and they absolutely love them. They wait for the next one to come out but they use magnifying glasses to read them. And I was like, why didn't I ever think of that? So I reached out to a few people and they said, they might not have vision issues. Some people just prefer large print. So it's out there in large print too. And I'm super excited about that. So paperback version normal, large print, ebook, and it's also available on Kindle Unlimited. But that's my mission of hope. And that's what I've been doing this year.
I love that. And Kim, oh my gosh, I could listen to you talk. You remind me of Delilah, and I love Delilah. So your nickname is going to be Delilah because I love her. And she's all about like spreading hope and stuff too. So I'm here for it. I love it. It's a compliment, I promise. But your mission is so beautiful. And I don't know if I would have the courage to go up to complete strangers and give them the nugget of hope like you do and let them react in whatever way they do, an angry way, and be able to brush that off. Because I'm not a sensitive person, but it will ponder and stick in my mind. I'll be like, well, what? I was just being nice, that whole thing. And so I truly love your mission, though, because I think it's one of those things that so many people need it and no one's going to ask for it at all.
Right.
They want to do it themselves, or they have pride issues and they can't put their egos aside, or they're just struggling and they don't have resources. They don't know resources, anything like that. And so I think the difference that you make by giving out your nuggets of hope and by letting people enter these anthologies and write their stories so other people can relate to them and know that they're not alone, I think is the most beautiful thing anybody can do. I mean, we've had mental health authors on here, talking about PTSD and not feeling alone and how to deal with, addiction and losing, someone that was addicted to drugs and things like that. But never have I had anyone on the 12 days, and Sandy did this 2 years before I did, and I've done this, ever write a book that is strictly just about hope. Ever. I've never, in my long time of doing this, Kim, have I ever encountered that. And that is the most special and beautiful thing that I think anyone, and selfless thing anybody can do, is to
thank you.
With hope.
It's been an amazing journey, and I'm going to keep on going. One of the books that I'm writing for, it's mine, it's all Kim. It's not an anthology. It's literally called Nuggets of Hope, and it's going to be sharing my experiences of handing out these nuggets. That's going to be a lot of it, and the name of it's Nuggets of Hope, and the little subtitle is called Practice Kindness, because the world needs more of it, needs more kindness, and needs more hope. So, don't be poop heads, be nice people.
Poop heads. That is such a nice way of saying it, because in my mind, I was not going that direction at all. At all. So I love that. It's a nugget of gold in our community in many ways, and she's a walking blessing. Yes, Rita.
She's one of my dear friends.
I love it. Rita, thank you for watching and tuning in. But yes, I am in awe, and I feel incredibly lucky that Kim came to party with me and, give me hope, because I love it. But I am a sucker for people that want to make a difference in this world, because I'm a firm believer that one person can make a difference, one person at a time. And I think handing out your nuggets of hope and giving people a voice and a way for other people to relate and feel like they're not alone in your anthologies, I think is the way that you can help many people, one person at a time. And you're making a difference. You're making a big ripple in it. And you're going to make the world a happier place, Kim. I'm determined.
That's right. I'm going to chuck those nuggets like confetti.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm here for it. It's a Hope Nugget party, and I'm down for it. I love it. So how many anthologies have you put out?
This will be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 4th one. Working on a 5th one that's going to be released in April. And Miss Rita that just made a comment, she's going to be in it. She's also in this one. But my next one coming up, and I am so excited about it because I've been wanting to do it for years. It is called Paw Prints on the Couch. It's going to be how your fur babies impact your life in a loving, positive way.
Oh my gosh. When does that one come out? I'm a sucker for an animal book. Oh,
I have been wanting to do this for years. That's another book. I have 2 books in the back burner I'm working on. One is my own, of my dogs, the rescue dogs, and it's conversations that we've had and all of the lessons that they've taught me over the years. So that's what I'm working on. But this anthology, I wanted others to be able to share their stories too, because there's tons of them. And animals are amazing souls. They're just pure, loving, beautiful souls. So Paw Prints on the Couch, that's going to be coming out, I think, late April, no later than late April. Super excited about it. I'm literally like jumping in my chair, excited about it, because I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. So that will be my 5th anthology that I've put together.
Oh, you're going to have to email me when your pre-orders start, because I would love to have it. I love those. I had a dog that was near and dear to me for like 11 years, and I lost him recently. So then I went and got this massive puppy, right? And it's an undertaking. I went from an Applehead Chihuahua to like this, Great Pyrenees, like, pit bull lab puppy. Okay. So he's massive, and, he was previously abused, so he doesn't do good with men. So I have 3 toddlers in my house pretty much, but the stories I could tell you of my little Chihuahua, Hercules. He's still on my Christmas tree with his ornament.
Amy, you say you're not a writer. You're not a writer, but I bet you any money you could write a story about your pup.
I have mentioned, to be fair, if I could write a book that was visual and I could talk with my hands, I could nail it. But with words and grammar, no. Like, y'all have read my emails. All of y'all have read my emails, and you're just like, oh, this girl needs Grammarly, and I have Grammarly. But you all still love me, and that I'm here.
That's what developmental editors are for.
Yeah, but you all have a love-hate relationship with your developmental editors, and I am, I don't take criticism very well in a non-constructive manner. So I know not to put myself in that arena or anybody else, So it's one of those, I'm like, I'm gonna stay on the sidelines. I'm gonna live through y'all. I'm okay. I like living through y'all. Y'all are more creative people. I can market a book, yes, but to write one, I'll give you ideas though. If y'all want to write it, I will give you ideas. Okay, that's how it will work. But Kim, I know this holiday season you're offering some holiday promotions, so tell us a little bit about those.
I am, and hey, it happens to do with hope. Who'd have thunk? So ebook is now $1.29 on Amazon. The paperback versions are both discounted. The regular print is $5.99. It literally I saw that Amazon finally caught up, so that's actually up and live now. $5.99, folks, for a paperback book. You're not going to find that very often.
That's
and
amazing.
the large print version is $7.99. But the other thing, here's the cool thing. There's a package, a hope package deal. If you go to my website at kimlingling.author.com, you can get a signed copy of the book and a nugget of hope will come with it. And that is $15.95, and that includes the shipping. So you're getting the book, your own little nugget of hope, and your shipping taken care of.
Wow. That's amazing. I just want the nugget of hope. I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. I mean, I want the book too, but I want my own nugget of hope so I can look at them and like, Kim gave me that. There's hope in that. Like I'm a sucker for those kind of things, and I love them and the memories and everything that come with objects and stuff that you get. So that is an amazing holiday promotion. So Kim, thank you. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me on the 12 days. You're always just so much fun to talk to, and I just absolutely love it. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been fun. It's been fun watching it every night too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm just my normal, nerdy, corny self. It's just, yeah, I love it. So coming up next is Miss Sharon Jenkins. I can't just call you Sharon because your name just goes like Sharon Jenkins, even when it pops up on my phone, it does that, so it's definitely one of those things. That's
well,
just
you know what, Amy, let me just be frank with you. People have been calling me my whole name my entire life, from grade school until now. It was Sharon Carter then, now it's Sharon Jenkins. And that's what they do, just my whole name. So welcome to the club.
Yeah. Hey, I'm happy to be here because it just flows. I'm just like, oh, Sharon Jenkins is calling me, Oh, I love it. I love it. And I love super author Granny. I love it. So tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer and helping authors.
So I am a nonfiction girl about to take an adventure on the fiction side of the house. And I have been writing since I was 8 years old. I started with poetry, and then I took the poetry and I took some acting classes and started doing spoken word. Then I went into writing plays, and then I started writing books. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
I like it. It's a good one. It's a roundabout. I like it. You went to all these different avenues and now you write books, but you also obviously help authors, super author Granny. I'm here for it.
Yes. I've been helping authors for about 14 years, Amy, and it has been one of the most life-changing experiences. And I started out because I just didn't think too many people told people the real story behind writing books and the publishing. How can I say it? Sometimes it's a dilemma and sometimes it's a blessing. So I just wanted to become a guinea pig, and I started experiencing things in authordom. And as I experienced those things, I developed a platform to share with others. And it got to a point where I became a coach. Now, let me tell you, I never thought I was going to be an author. Never. I'm just telling the truth. And it wasn't my goal because I admired authors. They were my superheroes. They were the places that I went to escape in the library because I didn't foresee myself as a nerd, but I guess some other people did. And so I would escape in these books. So, my mom told me when I was about 8 that I had a little bit of talent. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's try to do this thing. So that's where it all started.
I love that. And I know me and you are good friends with Sandy Lawrence. And so I have heard so many amazing things about you. So when I got that you wanted to be on the 12 days, I'm not going to lie, Sharon, I fangirled. I was like, oh my gosh, Sandy, Sharon Jenkins wants to be on. Like, I fangirled like no other. Like, oh my gosh. It was just, it was. Like for me, it's like a Lady Gaga moment. Like everyone knows I love Lady Gaga, and whenever I go to her concerts. So for me, you are as big as Lady Gaga to me, Sharon Jenkins. So oh my gosh, I'm so honored to have you on. I love it. You have done so many incredible things for authors. You have helped so many authors, and it is such a beautiful thing that you're doing because the path to becoming an author, and I'm sure every single one of them on here will tell you, is difficult in itself to determining if you're going to self-publish, traditionally publish, go for an agent, if you're going to just pitch it to, big publishers and all of those things and what all goes into it, and really having your homework and your research done to figure out what the best option is for you. And you help them do that and you empower them to do that. And I think it is just, in your 14 years, you are just, there needs to be like a Hall of Fame for author coaches, and like Sharon Jenkins needs to be in it because you have just helped so many. And like Sandy's word for me is like gold. Like Sandy's like my, my G-ma. She's my grandmother pretty much. And so whenever she would just talk about you, she would light up. She'd be like, Sharon Jenkins has done this and she's helped this person. I learned this from Sharon Jenkins. I was like, oh my gosh. So Sandy was the first one I called when you wrote me back, and I was like, Sandy, guess what? She's like, what? She's like, oh, I love Sharon Jenkins. It's gonna be so much fun. It was such a great conversation. So, oh my gosh, the work that you do is incredible. So tell us about Super Author Granny, because that is just a great title.
Well, I decided to come out of the black and brown hair, and I said, let's just be authentic. And I wanted to make sure that my brand or my image was something that the millennials and those generations below the millennials could relate to. So that's how come I became a grandma in real life, so I could help those young people write good books that were competitive in the marketplace. And so most of my nonfiction books are helps for authors. That's what I spent a lot of my time in doing. And through my journey, I've met so many different authors, and I started writing compilations, sharing their stories, hoping that other authors would pick up the compilations and do like an advanced version of a kind of a class that would help them to not fall into some of the pitfalls or some of the traps that first-time authors or aspiring authors often do. And I wanted them to feel comfortable if they had a beer budget or if they had a champagne budget. If they had a dream to write a book, I wanted them to write the book, Amy. I did. And Amy, let me tell you something. You're going to laugh. Guess where I'm at?
Are you at a writers' convention?
I am in Virginia. Tomorrow, I am going to talk to a group of people. I'm in a hotel room. I am going to talk to a group of people about what? Writing a book.
I love
Isn't
it.
that something? So I'm sharing this with you. My love for authors put me in a place, Amy, where I just started developing tools and consulting and coaching them to help them do what they love to do. It's as simple as that.
See, I love that. I am a millennial. I don't always claim that title because sometimes, millennials do questionable things, like the Tide Pods and stuff. But besides that, I will claim being a millennial, right? I'm 30. And I think the difference that you make in the way that you encourage younger people to write and to pursue that, because it's not something that is often talked about. It's mostly like, you need to get out and go get a good job and, go the normal route. And then when you retire and stuff, then you finally have the time to do it. Right. And
Mhm.
you don't really do that. You encourage them to do it. And if they have a story, you want them to get it out of them. And I think encouraging the younger generations and stuff to do that is such a beautiful thing and is not something that is advocated for enough. And I think you make a difference in those lives. And that's why there should be a Hall of Fame and you should be in it. Okay. Because you've made a difference in so many people, like younger people's life, where, they've published their first book and they've gotten it done and they know all the ins and outs and, they've gotten bitten by that writing bug. Right. And so then we have younger people writing stories and stuff, and they're not waiting until later in life to do those things. And I think that is an amazing thing to do, to be not an advocate, but to encourage the younger generations to do that.
And you know what, Amy, the truth of the matter is most young people, they love their grandma. They may not love their mom. They may not love their dad at certain times in their lives, but they always love their grandma. So I'm super author Granny, and I am a literary midwife, and I help you birth your book, baby. It's as simple as that.
I love that. Like, super author Granny. I love it because yes, everybody loves their granny. Everybody loves them. Like, yes. And I loved you the first time I saw you. I was like, oh, yes, you are. Yes. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love it. So how many books have you written yourself in this arena?
I have written, I'll give you the total number of books I've written. I've written about 22 books.
Okay.
My last book that focuses on authors is titled, You Can Be a Super Author Too.
I love it.
And it is a compilation of authors sharing their stories. People like a friend of mine, like Rhonda Jenkins, who had problems conceiving, and her story about how she went to a foreign country to see a specialist, and it did the trick, and she got pregnant. But guess what she did? She started a nonprofit and she started funding efforts for other individuals, all during her process, other individuals to get the care or have the money to go through the fertility process. People like her in the book. Okay. Also, I've had some pretty neat clients over the years. I've had some best-selling authors. I mean, I'm talking about legitimate best-selling authors. You know, those people that have been in the industry for 20 or 30 years. Okay. Particularly, I'm thinking about Bill. And now he's a great thriller writer. He's been in the business for that long. He does WriterCon, all of this wonderful kind of stuff. And so I've met some very interesting people in my journey. I've helped some great people, but more so, it has always been my honor. I mean, when I am in the company of a best-selling author, I'm kind of, starstruck. And as you can see, I know how to talk. But the moral of the story is when I'm around them, I kind of stumble because that's how much love I have for authors.
Yeah. And I mean, it totally comes across. And you are not alone. I am very much the same way. My first time meeting, Tosca Lee was yesterday on the 12 days. And I don't remember our conversation because I was just like, oh my gosh, I've never spoken to this person. Oh my God. Like I was freaking out. Like it was just a whole thing. So I am the same boat as you. I'm just, it's the same thing. I totally get it. I know how to put words in sentences and ask questions. And I don't know if it made sense. And I refuse to go back and watch it because I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't, no. I can't do it at all. But I know that you're offering a holiday promotion this holiday season. So can you tell us about that?
Okay. Can I back up a little bit, Amy, and talk
it.
about the fiction book that I'm writing?
Go for it.
You sure you're ready for it? Because it is one of those things that rivals.
I'm dying to know. I'm dying to know. Yes, I'm ready for
it. It rivals The Woman King and also Wakanda Forever. I'm writing a book about an African princess, modern day African princess, and this wonderful love story that she's involved in with all the modern twists and turns. I love it. I love it. I love it. And the reason why I decided to write that story is I believe that all women are beautiful, all women are virtuous, all women are just awesome. And so I think we need to celebrate women in leadership. So I couldn't help myself. So I'm writing a story, and it's going to come out on Martin Luther King's birthday.
Nice.
I'm excited. And it's called The Untold Love Story.
Oh, okay.
And it's available now for pre-order on Amazon. So go check it out. The cover is sensational. And then now you asked me about my special. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. I love this idea of the 12 days of page turners. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss all the wonderful characters leading up to December the 25th in my book. Give the readers a snapshot of who they are. And, I used to do personality testing. So we're going to talk a lot about their motivation, about who they are, how they were created, all of that wonderful kind of stuff. A new character each day until the 25th of December.
Nice. Oh, I like that. Okay. Tag me in that. Tag me in that. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But Sharon Jenkins, I could talk to you all day. I love it. I am so glad that you decided to join this year and that we could just have this conversation. And oh yes, you are super author Granny. I'm gonna send you like a Hall of Fame trophy. I'm gonna figure out how to have that made. I'm gonna be like, you are the Hall of Fame super author Granny, because I love it. But what you do for the industry and for young writers is truly amazing. So thank you so much for joining us this year and for your. I cannot wait to hear your character descriptions every day. Like, please tag me in them. I'm dying to listen to those. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to say, and I know we're running out of time, so I'll make this quick. So if anybody goes to my super author superstore, because I've got a store where you can get posters or all these wonderful books that I've written for super authors. If anybody goes to that store and they make a purchase by the end of the month, I'm going to send them a free copy of my book, Are You a Super Author?
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna have to do that. See, I go broke in the 12 days of page turners. You would think that I wouldn't do it anymore, but I definitely do. I do for sure. But it's always such a delight, Sharon Jenkins. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. So my time management skills are not that great. Okay, we already know this. It's a done deal. But we have one more author that's recorded. He is over in Portugal. I was not going to make anybody stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning to talk to me because I wouldn't do that for myself. So you guys get to enjoy the awesomeness of Awkward Amy watching herself. If you guys are watching the replay, you might want to fast forward to this because, you know, it just, if you like awkward people, I am definitely an awkward person. But Kev Harrison is coming up. He is a thriller, sci-fi suspense, or not sci-fi, but psychological thriller suspense author. He's offering some amazing holiday promotions. His promotions are going to be in the comment section down below. But without further ado, let's give Kev. Joining me now on the stage is Kev Harrison. So Kev, hey, how are you doing?
Hi, Amy. Yeah, I'm absolutely great. Thanks. Really happy to be talking to you once again.
Oh, I'm so excited. I remember our first conversation on Author Talk. I was dying to ask you so many questions. So I'm so glad that you decided to join me and my crazy self on the 12 Days of Patience. And I finally get to ask all these questions that I've been dying. So before we start, tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been writing.
Yeah, sure. So I write in, generally speaking, horror, but anything kind of dark, really. So there's some elements of dark fantasy and that kind of thing in what I write as well. And I've been writing, this is going to sound like a massive cliche, but I've been writing pretty much my whole life, but taking it seriously, like something I want to do in terms of getting published and things, really started around 2016, 2017, something like that.
Wow. I love it. That seems to be such a common thread in the 12 days is writing's just been a part of so many authors, and you know they can't remember when they weren't writing. You know, some started at like 8 and some were like in high school and everything. And so I love that because I think that really comes across in your guys' writing, like just the love that you have. It was just instilled in you. I wish I had that. I don't. Like, I'm not creative with words in that sense. I can market the hell out of a book, but to write a book, no. Like, words are hard for me, and spelling and grammar is even worse. Like, you've seen my.
But you love stories, but you just don't like telling stories so much.
I don't like writing them. If it was like an audiobook and like that's all that we were doing and it was video and you could watch my hands move because I'm very animated, I'm down. But to like write it and spell and do that grammar stuff, grammar's hard for me. You've seen my emails. Okay. You know that. You know that.
Come on.
Sure. But so what inspired you to start writing dark horror? Do you just love to read that, or what kind of was that inspiration for you behind that?
I think actually the dark stuff, it comes from irresponsible parenting. Because when I was a kid, like my dad and my uncle lived with us for some time actually, and both of them were big fans of like Stephen King, Peter Straub, James Herbert, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so when I turned about 8 or 9 years old, I was a big reader already, and I read a lot of sort of darker stuff, like darker kids' tales, like Roald Dahl kind of stuff and things like that. And so eventually when I got to about 8 or 9 years old, I started to creep, you know, when they were out at work, to their library and just pull a book off the bookshelf. And I remember I started with The Rats by James Herbert, which I read when I was about, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something, which like loads of it went way over my head. But also the scary bits were just brilliant. And then I went to Stephen King's Salem's Lot. That was my first Stephen King book. And again, like completely terrifying, loads of it over my head, but had a really, really good time, and kind of then just fell in love with that feeling of being scared, you know, from reading.
See, I can relate to that. I have, like, you know, I love psychological thrillers and the puzzle, and just if I can't guess your ending, you are my favorite person, because I do that in like movies and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen, especially Hallmark movies around the holidays. You just nail those. But I love it when it stretches my mind to just get more creative in how things can do. And you guys as authors do that. Like, you inspire those dark thoughts, but that's okay. That's my mind is the same as yours. It goes there. I'm a really nice, fun person in person, but it's going to be in my mind, right? But you stretch your reader's mind in strategy and creativity and stuff by reading your books on different outcomes and ways that things can go, and all of these different parallels and stuff that can happen, right? And so I love that. That's why I love the like horror, thriller, suspense genre, because it really does that in such a creative way. I'm inspired by you guys and in awe of the way that you guys think and you pair things together and the situations that arise and how everything happens. I love that. Like if I could just be surrounded, like if that was a candle smell, it would be lit all the time. I don't know if I would enjoy the smell, but it would be lit all the time, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely one of those things. So when did you first start writing and kind of realize that you wanted to try to publish that book? When did that happen for you?
Well, what I did first of all was I wrote a short story for a competition. I was like all alone at Christmas time, actually. So it's kind of relevant to now, I guess.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Air hug.
It's fine.
Air hug.
It's fine. Thank you. No, but I'm pretty tough cookie, and so I was okay. But I was just kind of alone, like in a new country, which I'd only moved to about 3 months before because I live in Portugal. And I just thought, what am I going to do, with my time? And then I saw online this story writing competition for horror. And I'd always been drawn, like I said, to horror stories and dark stuff. And so I just thought, let's try. So I wrote the story, sent it to my friend, said, do you think this is garbage? He said, I actually don't think this is garbage. So I went, oh, great. And I ended up winning second prize in the competition. And then that same friend, like the following year, the same friend said to me, look, you've written this one short story. To make you a better writer, I'm doing this thing called the Story a Week Challenge, where you write a story a week, every week for a year. Do you want to do it? And I said, that sounds completely stupid. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. You have good friends that support your writing habit, right?
Yeah.
Like I mentioned the other day, it was a couple nights ago, I mentioned how you guys are all addicts. You all are addicted to writing, and I will be your AAA coach, okay? And I'm going to encourage your habit. So it's a different kind of AAA meeting. But your friends are like that for you. I mean, it's almost as if your friends kind of push you and encourage you to do that or to begin writing by having your daily challenge. So how did that turn out? Did you guys collaborate and put them all into an anthology, or what happened with that?
Well, some of those stories did get into anthologies, which was really great. And some of them got onto podcasts and things like that. But I ended up actually failing the challenge. But the great thing about a challenge like that is that you have the way I failed was I finished the year with 39 new stories. And between you and me, 10 of them were really crappy. So they just will never see the light of day.
You improve with each one you write, right? Each one's better.
Yes.
You improve. Yes.
Exactly. Loads of experimentation. I found out what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. So it was a really great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of sets you up for when you decided to write your first book. You knew exactly what direction you wanted to go and how you wanted it to lay out. And so going, off of that route, what kind of writer are you? Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? You just wing it? What's your writing style?
Well, my first book, it's called The Balance, and that I wrote the first sort of 3,000 words of during that challenge, and then realized I'm not going to finish any more stories if I keep going with this. So I put it in a drawer somewhere. And that one, I pantsed the whole thing, completely, made up from scratch. But since then, I've kind of come around more to planning after finding myself sort of digging myself into holes a few times. And so now I tend to write with an outline, and I have milestones for the book, and then I kind of wing it between those milestones.
Okay. So is your outline, are you super firm that you have to hit certain points? And if you don't, then you have you rework your story to fit your outline? Or are you more kind of, it's just key points that you want to hit and the story in between develops on its own?
Yeah, I mean, very much the latter. The book I'm writing at the moment, I had about 10 milestones, and so far my characters have decided not to hit 3 of them. So devious.
Those characters, I tell you, they are, one lady described it as they constantly just nag at you if you don't give them attention, and they will take control and do what they want to do. Darn those characters. Why do they got to be like that? They need to go with what your attitude is. Exactly. See, I am the opposite. I mean, I'm not a writer. Everyone here that is watching that knows me knows that I lived through you guys. But in high school, I had to write outlines, for school. And so it stressed me out. And I don't know how you fail an outline, but I've failed every outline I've turned in. I don't know why. but it would stress me out because I would write my outline of what I was thinking. But when I was writing my paper, it never went with my outline. It always went its own way. So I would fail my outline because it didn't match my paper. And it was so stressful that I have PTSD with outlines. So
Oh my God.
I refuse to look at outlines. You know, I'm just one of those. That's why I was asking, is it one that it's just more like, you know, bullet points of certain things you want to hit and certain milestones and let it develop. I could get down with that. I like that. I like that. You're still my kind of people, Kev. You're still my kind of people.
I try to be flexible. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you have to, like and when you're writing, because like you mentioned, your characters sometimes will just take over and they have their own direction that they want to go. And, you know, you just have to let it go that way. You can try to rework it back, but, you know,
it does cause a few headaches, though. I mean, like today I had like about an hour of scratching my head because, like, you know, these people had avoided this milestone, and I was kind of like, how am I going to get myself into the position for the next kind of leg of where I want it to go? So that it can sometimes be a bit of a headache, but still.
Well, yes. That's going back to where, you know, you love your characters, but sometimes that's where in, you know, murder mysteries and stuff, you just kill them off. You know, it's just like, it's okay. You know, we're done with you. You're causing me headaches. We're going to just move on. You know, see, this is why I can't write a book. I would just, if one character was irritating me, I'd be like, well, you're done. And then I would have none. So it just wouldn't work, right? It just would not work. But how many books have you published so far?
Well, my most recent book is put out through Bridgesgate Press, and that is called Below. And that's like a subterranean horror. And like part of it is epistolary. Sorry, I lost the word for a moment there. Where like it's written through sort of diary entries of a guy who was buried alive in a mine about 50 years earlier. And it's basically the story centers around the main character, who is his grandson, who has gone to film a TV documentary with like an internet influencer lady about the story. And so as they get there, they're kind of uncovering like how things went wrong when he was buried alive in this mine.
Okay, so the question I've been dying to ask you, because we talked about that on Author Talk, and I'm dying, how did you come up with the idea for this story? Because it is amazing. I have not heard of another story that is like this. And so I'm dying to know, how did that idea come to you? And you're just like, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to write it. Because your cover is beautiful. Like with the hand and the nails.
Unbelievable. I mean,
it's amazing. It gives me like Thing vibes, you know, to an extent. And so I'm like, yes, like I'm here for it. Yes, let's do it. So how did you get this idea for your book Below? Because it's an amazing idea.
It was kind of two things, really, because like the first thing was that when I lived in Poland a few years ago, I had a student, because I'm an English teacher by day. I had a student who was a manager for a really big mining company. And at the end of his course, he told me, like, I'd like to take you down to the mine so you can see for yourself what I've been talking about with you for the last 12 months. And I said, yeah, sure, that would be really interesting. So we went there, and it was just such an eye-opening experience because it was so dark. Like they have like these floodlights, but like because you're so far down, no natural light gets in at all. It's like a kilometer under the ground or something.
Wow.
And like no light gets in, and the dark is like you can almost like take a piece of it. You know, it's really, really incredible. So I really wanted to include that kind of setting in a story. And then I'd been chewing that over for a long time. And then one day I literally had a dream about the person in the mine in my story, and kind of the rest I was like picking out over a few weeks, and I just started writing.
I love that. So it's a combination of two things, right? That's the student and then the dream, and it came together so beautifully. Like that idea is just amazing. Like when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, I need this. Like, and the cover by itself, I'm like, I need that on my bookshelf, right? So I'm waiting for it to get here. But yes, I am here for it 100%. But I know that you and your publisher are offering some holiday promotions this holiday season. So can you tell us what you and your publisher are doing?
Yeah, quite amazingly, the guys at Bridgesgate Press have decided that because it's Christmas time, people, you know, strapped for cash, understandably, they want to make sure everybody's got some great stuff to read for the holidays. So below, along with a bunch of other books in their catalog, is down to 99 cents in the US, and I think it's 86p in the UK randomly. So it's really a bargain. It's a novella of about 160 pages of subterranean horror. So yeah, if you feel like that sounds like something that you'd be entertained by, then yeah, go and pick it up for less than $1.
Oh yeah, no, I'm here for it. I love the horror genre, all realms of it. So I'm absolutely here for it. But man, Kev, thank you so much for joining us all the way, from Portugal where you're at. And just, oh man, you are like a world traveler. I'm going to live vicariously through you and all your ventures and travels. Okay. I'm in Texas. The furthest I've gotten from Texas is Detroit. And that was for 3 days and I came back. So that's it.
Quite far though.
I mean, no, it's not. I mean, Texas, you can drive for 12 hours and you're still in Texas. So
that's the thing. Texas is like a country almost of itself.
It is massive. But I was born here. I love it. So I don't leave, but I live vicariously through everybody else in their world travels. But thank you so much for joining us and joining and putting up with my crazy self for the 12 days. I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait
pleasure.
to see what else you do.
Happy holidays to you and your viewers, and I hope to chat to you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Bye. Okay, you guys, it does not get any easier to watch yourself on screen. It is still the most awkward thing, and I still laugh at myself. But all of you guys that are watching, all you authors on here, thank you guys for being such troopers. We had a packed house tonight. Oh, and let me tell you, I'm all giddy inside, and my bank account is empty. But it has been such an amazing night with amazing authors, stories, promotions. I'm leaving here with best friends, and I hope you guys are too. So go ahead and grab those promotions because you guys know best gift that you can give anyone this holiday season is a book. Take them out of reality, escape, motivate them, encourage them, give them some hope. And so all those promotion codes are down in the comment section below and will also be listed in the replay when this gets reposted later on in the week. But you guys, until tomorrow, which we'll have a new lineup of authors, new holiday promotions, but the 12 Days of Page Turners is coming to an end on Monday. So make sure you take advantage of all these promotions because they are going to go away soon after the 12 days. So until tomorrow, everybody, I will catch you all tomorrow night. Bye, everybody.